Hi, do you want to know how to best improve your listening and speaking skills in English? First of all, you need to get into the English frame of mind and make English a daily learning habit. If you want to hear more details, then carry on listening. This is Susan Broder from Speak Languages and Travel the World, here to help you improve your English with minimum effort and maximum benefit. What does it mean to get into an English frame of mind? It means that you have to start thinking in English. And the only way to be sure you're thinking in English is to speak to yourself in English. And this starts from the moment you wake up. You can get dressed, you can take a shower, you can go and have your coffee, all while speaking to yourself in English. It means you should incorporate English into your daily life from the moment you wake up. So you might look at your watch and say, what's the time? And tell us the time in English. Speak to yourself saying the time in English. Then you might go downstairs and say, well, let's make the coffee, and start preparing your breakfast, speaking to yourself in English. Of course, this does depend on your family situation, whether you live alone or whether you live with someone, but there are always moments when you can speak to yourself in English, even just getting dressed. You have to find the time to make English part of your daily life, and this is another thing. It has to become a habit, a daily routine. Now, there are things which you have to prioritize in life, and if learning English is one of them, so that you can make steady progress, there's no other solution than to do a little bit every day. Just a little, but every day, just like your physical exercise. And my experience, I try and do this with physical exercise, is if you don't do it as soon as you get up, it's going to be very difficult that you squeeze it in during the day. I usually get up and do it immediately before I think of anything else. It's just a routine. I get up, I drink a glass of water, and I get straight onto my exercise mat. I do my exercises because I know that during the day there are always going to be reasons why I skip it. And there are days when I have to move it for some reason or another because family and life happens. But when I do, 90% of the time I will not be able to do it later on during the day because things just crop up and take my time away. Therefore, the same goes for language learning. You have to make it a daily habit. As soon as you wake up, choose what you want to do and do it every day. Maybe only 5 minutes, but do it. In any case, thinking in English and getting into an English frame of mind means just speaking to yourself in English in whatever you're doing, even if it's only 5 minutes a day. So this is the first point. Get into an English speaking frame of mind. And second point, make sure you make it into a daily habit. Now, I'm sure you've heard this advice before, but I'll repeat it just in case someone hasn't already told you that the best way to get into an English speaking frame of mind is also to take your phone, your computer, your website, and put all the settings into English, because when you read the notifications, everything, it'll be in English, and it'll be that much easier to switch into an English frame of mind if you're continuously reading things in English. And it seems incredible, but the fact that you put your settings into English, you read these things in English and you start thinking in English. The first days it'll be a bit of a bother, but as time goes by it'll be easier. I have an experience of some students who once asked me, what does share mean? And I thought, you see, if you had put your Facebook settings onto English, you would know what share means, because the arrow and the word share is constantly there. Therefore, the best thing to do is to put everything you have onto English settings, and you'll see that it makes life much easier in a short period of time you'll be automatically thinking in English. Now, it's very, very important to choose materials you love, especially if you've already gone past the basic learning methods that most people do traditionally in school and you want to continue making progress with self-study. You should choose materials you love. It can be audio, video, reading, whatever, but you must choose materials you love or you won't enjoy the journey into improvement. And another fundamental thing that you must do is to track your progress, because there is no excitement, it's not motivating to keep studying a language when you don't see any progress. And the best way to track your progress in speaking is to record yourself. So you can record yourself today at the beginning of your journey, and maybe in a month's time you can record yourself again speaking about the same things that you recorded yourself the first time, and you should notice an immense difference. Tracking your progress will give you motivation to carry on with your daily learning habits, even when it's a little bit difficult, because maybe you don't want to get up 15 minutes early, or life has made it more difficult for you to keep up with your daily habits. So track your progress, and that'll give you motivation to carry on. So to see progress, it's very important to note down new expressions, particularly high-frequency verbs, those which appear most commonly. Those are very important to learn, and then subsequently learn the less frequent words, because in the end we're all using the same words most of the time, and it's only in literature that the less frequent vocabulary appears. Therefore, if you want to learn the living language, it's better to learn the high frequency words. And I would definitely use a spaced repetition application to practice the words you'd like to learn. Now, there are various kinds. There is QUIZLET, there is ANKI, MEMRISE. There are many different kinds of spaced repetition applications. You choose the one you like best, write down the words and how do they work. Depending on how well you do, you can mark, or they will automatically notice the ones that you know better and will repropose those without you actually having to decide which ones to repeat more often and which less. The ones that you're not so good at will automatically be reproposed. The ones that you're better at will be reproposed less often. This is a spaced repetition which will help you improve your English with those words, that vocabulary, those expressions that you don't know. And to be honest, I prefer to not write single words, but to actually write these words in sentences, in context. That way you learn the complete sentence or series of sentences with that vocabulary, and it'll become much more memorable than individual words. Now, as you get better and better at English, it becomes more difficult to find a way to keep you motivated, and also the English language, like all languages, has an incredible amount of vocabulary, and there is no way you can learn it all in a short time. So if you are particularly interested in one topic, the best thing to do is what they call narrow reading. So you just choose a topic you're interested in. If your job is medicine, it may be things regarding medicine. If your job is engineering, you might be interested in engineering. Choose a topic you're interested in and do all the activities around that topic. You'll notice that the vocabulary is repeated over and over again, and so you'll learn it, you'll pick it up, and you'll have the satisfaction of seeing progress, quite rapid progress, because you're narrowly focusing on a series of topics rather than spacing out where the world is just too big to feel you've made any significant progress. So narrow reading in a specific topic is very good for giving you motivation to carry on learning, because you notice that you're making progress, and also if it's for your job or for your interests, it'll help you be able to talk about that topic because you've acquired a lot of vocabulary just specifically on that topic. Now, if you want to sound more native, you'll have to start incorporating idioms and phrasal verbs into your everyday language. And this is something you can pick up from books, from films, from audiobooks and podcasts. The important thing is to make a note of the ones which you find are particularly interesting for you, also in your spaced repetition app, and then start using them. It's the only way to sound more fluent, and therefore this is something quite fundamental. Practice learning idioms and phrasal verbs, but not just any old idioms and phrasal verbs, the ones which are pertinent to your lifestyle, to your way of being. Now, it's very important to keep working on your pronunciation, because pronunciation is key to being understood, and many people think we exaggerate when we say that you have to practice your pronunciation. But for example, there are many people who'll say, I am heating dinner. They'll add an H to the verb eating, but I am heating dinner is very different from I am eating dinner. Therefore, pronunciation is important to make sure you're not misunderstood, and sometimes you can avoid very embarrassing situations. I had a male friend who once said to me, "You are bed with me." He intended you are bad with me, you are not behaving correctly, but he used the pronunciation bed instead of bad. Now that could have been misunderstood, of course, so one has to avoid these embarrassing situations. Work on your pronunciation. And if you have a friend who's better than you in English, it's a good way to practice without spending any money. But if you have the opportunity to find a native speaker and practice with them, then that's even better. There are lots of exchange groups where you can practice your languages, and that's for free. I know that many people recommend ITALKI, which is a way of paying for a teacher online without it being particularly expensive. But I haven't experimented it myself, so I base myself only on reputable teachers who've tried it out and highly recommend it. I think you have to try it out yourself. Apparently, it's very, very good. The advantages of a language tutor is that whilst when you're teaching yourself, you may not be sure if you're making mistakes, a tutor will pinpoint resources that are specific for you that you may not know about, will correct your mistakes, and can prepare specific exercises tailored to your needs. So this is an advantage of having a tutor for your English. So one of the most important factors for being able to learn a language over a long period of time is to make sure that you find interesting and comprehensible input. So it mustn't be too difficult, but it must be challenging. And most of all, it must be something that you're really, really interested in. If you're not interested in it, it really makes no sense. So you must find, for improving your listening and your speaking, podcasts, films, audiobooks, and even radio shows. I'll put in the links below, all the different opportunities. TuneIn is a very good app where you can listen to radio shows from all over the world in various languages. So that's something where you can find the radio show that most interests you. You can use iTunes or Stitcher for listening to podcasts. You can go on Netflix or Aurora TV for watching TV shows. So the world nowadays is so full of possibilities for you to improve your English without having to even move from your armchair. This is something incredible which the internet has allowed, and I definitely think that nowadays we have a great advantage for learning anything. You must exploit it to the full. So these are all tips I give you for improving your listening and your speaking, because as I always say, when you're listening, you should occasionally stop whatever you're listening to and repeat it with the same intonation, the same expression, and the same pronunciation as the person who's been saying it. And this will improve your speaking incredibly. It will improve your fluency if you're incorporating the phrasal verbs and the idioms that are proposed in these various listening materials. So the most important takeaway from my video today, however, is make sure you make learning English a daily habit as soon as you get up, because I'm sure if you don't do it as soon as you get up, it'll be very difficult to do it during the rest of the day. This will be the habit of speaking to yourself and maybe studying something, reading something, doing something which will give you the feeling you've dedicated your first 15 minutes to English in a productive way. Then the rest of the day you should do something like, for example, when I travel, I'll turn on a podcast. When I do chores, when I do my cooking, I'll turn on the radio. So during the rest of the day, you'll still be increasing your English input, but it'll be a habit which is maybe less focused on, let's say, sitting down and dedicating the first 15 minutes to revising your flashcards or something which is an effort on your part. So let's say as soon as you get up, you have to put the effort into actually working with the language. During the rest of the day, you can just listen and speak. Speak when you're on your own or when you're practicing something that you've heard, and listening just when you're traveling and doing boring activities. I'll put some links in the description below with some possibilities for you to do free listening and speaking practice on your own. I look forward to hearing about your progress in English in the comments below, and see you in my next video where I'll explain better about how you can improve your reading and writing. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to make sure you are notified every time I upload a new video. And I hope this information was useful for you. Bye!